there is no determinant to tell us whether someone is able to change or not. And so our justice system really needs to be focusing on the healing of all individuals and the restoration of community, of healthy community. So that is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about justice reform. It is about creating a system of equality that is a through line in all of the things that we do. I saw the picture of the El Salvadorian prison on the news, and it was so shocking to me for many reasons. But the first thing that I noticed was the dehumanization of the individuals in those pictures. And it started me to thinking about how we talk about people who are incarcerated. What dehumanizing language do we use that makes us think and feel that the mistreatment or the forced labor of these individuals is justified? So this is the first question that we really need to think about, because this is where our power is. We can see this and we can be desensitized to the dehumanization of people who are incarcerated. Even the use of calling them criminals is a form of dehumanization. So this helps us to understand how we can emotionally and intellectually justify the forced labor of and mistreatment of these individuals. What have you learned? What do you believe about people who are incarcerated? And how does that allow you to justify the 13th Amendment that says that slavery is abolished with the exception of those who are incarcerated? Okay, so that's the first thing I want you to think about. In this particular picture, what also was striking to me was the way that they were lined up was really reminiscent of how African people were piled into slave ships for forced labor. So there was this connection that was happening in my brain that said, this is almost the same thing. We're taking people from another country, we're bringing them to another country, and here they will be forced to labor, and there will be a profit for governments to gain. So let's really think about how we dehumanize people who are incarcerated. In the same way, society dehumanized enslaved people. The same conversation around the justification for slavery, right? That it was some necessary evil, right? To build the economy. That's the same conversation that's happening right now. If we look a little deeper, if we dig a little deeper and we recognize that there are states, there are businesses making millions and billions of dollars over the justice system. And so that now explains why there's a disproportionate number of Black and brown people who are incarcerated for things that their white counterparts may have gotten probation or a slap on the wrist for. So now we're not only seeing the dehumanization of individuals who are incarcerated, but we're also seeing the connection to racism, where the justice system is not blind and not being fair when it comes to sentencing. Why would a government continue to build prisons? It's because they are benefiting from it. Our tax dollars are paying for it, and essentially that makes us stakeholders. So this is an awareness to have. It's also really important for us to recognize that we have been complacent in this. For how long have you known that the 13th Amendment abolishes slavery with the exception of people who are incarcerated, and in some way knew that slavery was wrong, but justified that people who are imprisoned, it's okay. They need to pay their debt back to society. That is not how restoration work happens. That's not how we pay back a debt. And in fact, the person who was harmed doesn't see any of that. There is no recompense for the time that people spend in prison and the work that they do that does not go to the people that they have harmed. So we have created a narrative around paying a debt to society and justifying the dehumanization and the suspension of basic human rights based upon if someone is tried and convicted. And might I add, that is highly selective, because there are people who have many convictions, 36, 34, whatever it is, and yet they serve no time. So here is what our work is to do, right? We are to be aware. We do not turn a blind eye. Don't say, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to hear about it. We have to know. We feel helpless or hopeless. What can we do? And the reason why we don't know what to do is because we're still living in the victim consciousness of it. We do not see the inspired action that we can take. And the reason we don't see the inspired action that we need to take is because we have not done the personal work. We're still making excuses as to why something is okay, or justifying something, or bypassing something, right, as not our responsibility. I did this. Let me pass the buck on to our elected officials to do something because they're the only ones who can. How many times do we relinquish our power because we feel helpless or hopeless? We need to process that helplessness. What can we do? When we process what we know and our emotions and we put them in alignment with our values, something incredible happens. Inspired action. We see possibilities that we didn't see before. We have a creative genius that comes through us that's divinely inspired to bring about the balance that we seek. If you're interested in going deeper in social transformation work, I invite you to visit my Patreon. There are exercises, videos to cause us to think critically, to cause us to begin to process our emotions around what we are seeing in our world that no longer feels in alignment with who we are and what we want to see. And it is a place to brainstorm, get into alignment with who we are and our values, and come together to take collective inspired action.